And the other item in your checklist, which is very, very important, is you need to be job ready. So what does that mean? Be job ready. So there are a couple of dot points that I would like to talk with you there. First one is to increase your networking. Networking certainly is vital for you to get noticed. Get to know who's who in the zoo. Elevate your profile and make connections. Obviously now with the COVID-19 restrictions, it's a bit harder. Before, agencies and companies, they used to do networking events like workshops and face-to-face meetings, etc. Nowadays, majority of them are doing online events and online catch-ups, but it's still possible to interact. You can send questions, you can introduce yourself with the online events. They usually leave an email for you to kind of send questions, etc., and you can then introduce yourself. So networking is certainly very important. There are many places that you can do. Engineers Australia, they have their own events and their webinars. The Australian Institute of Project Management, they also have their online webinars. You can be part of my Telegram group, Engineering Qualification Validation Group, with more than almost 800 people, where I post a lot of content, and sometimes when I know about job opportunities, I also post in the Telegram group as well. So I'm just going to include that in my PDF document here. Where's my PDF? Here. Increase your networking. Yeah. The next dot point, which is very important to be job ready, is to validate your engineering qualification. And why is that? Because majority of reputable companies will ask if you have your engineering qualification validated, which demonstrates that you have been assessed successfully by Engineers Australia, and your qualification is equivalent to an Australian qualification. So especially in times like this, where the market is very competitive, unfortunately there's a large number of engineers in the market, available in the market, and the recruiters and companies, they have at their disposal a broad range of options. So imagine that the following scenario. Imagine that you are the company going to recruit an engineer, and then you advertise for a position. You will get, let's say, 45, 50, 60, 70 applications. So when you get those applications, the next step is to shortlist. So when you shortlist, you will select probably between 3, 4, 5 candidates for a professional interview. Usually in a recruitment process, you don't really interview more than 3 or 4 candidates. Sometimes you interview 5 or 6 when the pool is really good. And if you have more than one position to be filled. But if you have just one position, probably you will be interviewing you will be interviewing between 3 and 4 candidates. So if you have about 50 candidates and you need to select 3 or 4, there's a good chance that majority of the engineers are already validated. And not just that, they are validated, they are members of Engineers Australia, and a good number of them will probably going to be a chartered professional engineer with Engineers Australia, which means that they already passed stage 2 and they are autonomous. They can pretty much work without supervision. So if you are the recruiter and if you have lots of engineers that they are already validated and you are not validated yet, put in the comments how much do you think is going to be your chances to be selected, shortlisted for an interview. Let's say that you have 50 applications. Out of that, 20, or let's say more, 30 are validated. Out of the 30, about 15 are even chartered professional engineers. And there are about 20 applications or engineers that are not validated. So how much do you think is going to be your chances in percentage to be shortlisted for an interview if the panel is shortlisting between 3 or 4 candidates? Do you think it's going to be a good percentage, a low percentage? Do you think it's going to be close to 100%, close to 50%, or close to 0%? What do you think? Let's have a look. None. Ivinha. In Instagram, none. 0%. What else? So I'm going to put the content in my PDF while you guys answer that. So do you think you have a good chance or not a good chance to be shortlisted? What do you reckon? Let's have a look if more people put in the comments. Yeah, Vinha probably is going to be Vandy, not at all. In YouTube. Yeah, thanks, Vandy. I'd say that I'm afraid that you guys are correct. Your chances are going to be really, really slim. If you're not the last engineer in the world and very, very specialized, unique in the profession, your chances to be shortlisted when you have another 30 engineers that are already validated and 15 engineers that are chartered professionals. If I am in the panel, if I have at my disposal 30 engineers that are already validated and 15 engineers that are already chartered professional, I'd say that those that are not validated, they don't really have chance at all, unfortunately. Why is that, Jess? Are you being discriminatory? Not that I'm being discriminatory. Just so you know, when companies are recruiting for an engineer, do you know how much money usually companies they spend with recruitment agencies to recruit an engineer? Do you have an idea? Do you think it's $500 or $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $100,000? How much do you think usually cost for a company to recruit an engineer? Let's see if you have a good guess. So yeah, Tatiana saying hopefully 50%. Tatiana is saying. Kinley says 50% in Instagram. Yeah. But in terms of recruitment costs, and our company already engaged many recruitment companies. So and the research that I did is that a normal recruitment process with the recruitment companies obviously analyzing the CVs, applications, shortlisting, participating in interviews as well, can cost, depending on the level of the position, anything between $15,000 and $30,000. So it is a lot of money. So when a company is paying, let's say, $20,000 in average to recruit somebody, obviously the recruiters are very strict, and if they have an option of indicating or shortlisting somebody which is a chartered professional engineer or is validated, it certainly they will probably choose the validated one and obviously not going to choose the non-validated. Those ones in Queensland, I don't know how many of you are here in Queensland, but in Queensland there is, for the last 90 years, there is a requirement for engineers. When engineers they are providing professional engineering services, they have to be a registered professional engineer of Queensland, RPEQ. And if you are not RPEQ, you can actually be prosecuted by a criminal offense. You can be supervised. If you're not RPEQ, you can be directly supervised by RPEQ, and that's okay. Or you can follow a prescriptive standard. But other than that, you have to be registered. And New South Wales and Victoria, since last year or this year, and it's going to start next year in 2021, you have to be registered to perform some of the professional engineering services. Obviously, there will be a transition period between 1 July 2021 and I think another 2 or 3 years until everybody needs to be, all engineers need to be registered to provide professional engineering services. They're probably going to follow similar structure here in Queensland. So when companies are paying a lot of money, they certainly are going to invest in the right people.